Welcome to my channel once again. Thank you for watching. I had a lovely discussion with Christopher Nevill this afternoon, and we were discussing matters like the negative morale the world over and what we can do to change it and to create an energy shift towards the more positive. So enjoy, click like and share, and leave comments regarding the topics you would like to be discussed. We would appreciate that. We're planning to do a chat once a week. So leave us a comment and a topic if you have interesting things to discuss and if you need some more insight. Further, you can always contact Christopher Nevill directly for coaching sessions and for personal guidance as well, in the details below. Thank you and enjoy. Yeah, I need
Well,
to get this done.
should we be doing this? Have you got the time?
Yes, we have to do this. No, I haven't spoken to you in a long time. And
I know.
to catch up.
I've missed you.
Yeah.
I've been feeling all rejected and put
neglected.
down and ignored and unloved. And
shame. No, you were in my thoughts. I was just busy. And the good news is, through the dark times, this is now the load shedding times when we don't have power, I've had time to meditate and to do homework. So I have a whole lot of things that we can discuss. But I was first hoping to hear from you. What is on your mind? What would you like to chat with me about?
You know, I have such a library of thought. I think it's probably more sensible if we start with what you would like to talk about, because I mean, it always sounds, and I'm very aware of this, is that I sit here in front and pretend that I'm the wise man and you've got the answers. And I haven't got the answers, and I am quite wise. Yes, I grant you that. I've accumulated a lot of knowledge over the years, but I would much rather start the other way around. What's bothering you as the representative of the man in the street, without 85 years of experience, without 85 years of knowledge and digging and all the rest of it? And so what do I want to talk about? Well, I'll give you a subject. I think one of the really sad things that we have allowed ourselves to be conned into believing is the whole question of human rights. That we have, because we're human, that we have rights, that we're born with certain rights. Yes, I understand the thinking, and I get the thinking, because it makes our lives very difficult if we believe that we don't have them. But the problem with that belief is this, is that it has the danger of making us think that we don't have to do anything. In other words, I have a right to clean air. I don't have to do anything about getting clean air. I have a right to it. Somebody else must do it. I have a right to clean water. Again, I don't have to do anything about it. It's a right. And I think that's an extremely dangerous form of mind, because it lets us off the hook. And we see that in the world today, that we've become very idle, sloppy about getting the stuff that we feel would make our lives better. We sit back and we say, well, somebody else must do it. The government must do it. My parents must do it. My teachers must do it. Instead of looking very clearly at the very old thing of pointing one finger over there and three fingers pointing back. And we're getting the result of that, because by and large, these people walk in the streets And it's a very popular occupation in London, particularly, where they have these demonstrations and they wave banners and one thing and another. But I ask myself, what do they actually do about creating what they're demanding?
Yeah, you see,
You know, a practical example that comes out of my past was a man who ran a very successful business. He lived in Johannesburg, and so did I, was complaining about the inefficiency of his son's school, that they were this and that and one thing and another. And I said to him, yes, I get that. That must be very irritating. But I said, how many people do you employ? And he said, 40, 50 people. I said, how many of them could actually make a difference to your son's school if you said to them, I'm sending you to my son's school to clean up their library system? I said, oh, I never thought of that. I said, because that's, the schools are battling. And it would make a big difference to them if you sent a couple of your experts to clean up their bookkeeping system, to clean up their library system. He did it, and he came to me about 2-3 months later, and he says, the difference is phenomenal. And it's cost me nothing. Just seconding a couple of my highly qualified staff to go and assist the school in solving the problems that they've got. Now, that's a good living example. And I wonder how many of us are actually willing, prepared, not able, because we are able, to do exactly that. To go to the police station and instead of complaining about the inefficiency of the police, saying, guys, can I answer your phone today?
Wow, thank you for that. Yes, I was going to interrupt you there. Adding something is that, especially around here, because of human rights, it is expected that things are given to us.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, and I don't dispute the fact that we deserve it. Obviously, we deserve whatever we require and what we need. But we don't deserve things just coming to us out of nothing. Our input is required. And that is the misconception, is that you don't have to do anything, it'll come. And in a broader sense, if you think about the whole motivational movement of, thoughts become things and all that, I think the message is coming across not in a way that people understand correctly, because yes, we should be focusing on positive thoughts, on where we are going, on having a mission and knowing what we want, knowing who we are and all that. But that won't bring about what we need. We still need action to get that.
Yeah, and we're the only ones who can do the action, and that's us.
Yeah.
We have to, instead of sitting back and complaining and saying, yeah, but they should be doing this. I buy that. The municipalities should be more efficient. I mean, the police should be more efficient. The stores should be more efficient, etc., etc. But what are you actually doing about supporting your system?
What are we contributing? Yes.
Yeah.
And that actually ties in with the message I had this morning. I did have I wake up with messages. So this morning, I was thinking, especially in South Africa with the power crisis and all that, people are suffering tremendously. And it's not hard to notice how prices increased in the shops within the last week as a result of that. Yes, within the last week, there were considerable price increases. And not it's not announced or so, and you just notice it. You know, when you buy a bread, it's another 70 cents more expensive, and um, that made me think this morning. A lot of South Africans are really suffering. The entrepreneurs, the small businesses, they are suffering because they don't always have the funds to have backup power systems and all that. And the morale right now is so low that on social media, where I work, where I spend most of my time, I can see that the the jokes and the entertainment has nothing positive in it anymore. The jokes are about the suffering. And I was wondering if we maybe change our approach to that and keep the entertainment in a positive light. And um, it's something I've been struggling for some years, is that South Africans manage to get by um, you know, if there's a huge challenge, they say, let's braai about it. And then they braai and we talk about it and then we make jokes. We laugh about it and we go on about our stuff. Is there any positivity in that? Or are we just, how can I say, focusing on the negative parts and actually making it worse? What is your opinion about this?
Well, I think it's a universal thing. It's not only typical of South Africa. We tend to focus on the negative because then it shifts the responsibility. Somebody else must fix it because, after all, I have human rights. I'm going to stick my neck out, but then behold, the tortoise makes no progress unless its neck is out. Perhaps one of the great documents, and it is a marvelous document, that is present in particularly English history, is the Magna Carta. Now, there's nothing wrong with the Magna Carta, except that it has produced exactly this thing, that we don't have to do anything. We can just sit back and say, well, it's my right. And there is a great danger in Europe generally, is that people are lashing themselves with that. And I mean lashing themselves. This business of human rights. Everyone talks about it. United Nations talk about it. But nobody's talking about getting off their butt and doing something at a very practical level. As I say, your local police station is battling and etc. Well, have you offered them to come in and listen to their phone for 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day? For example, I mean, how practical that is in your police, any one particular police station, I don't know. But your school, how practical is it that you go and offer free art classes if you're an artist, for example? No charge, just do it. Or so the list is endless of what can be done.
So do you think that being of service in this way will affect our daily lives positively? For instance, you know, when we give or when we are of service, we do feel better. We feel like we have a purpose and we are contributing and so on. And the global negativity might shift in that way.
Well, there's a real possibility that that can happen, because after all, we are responsible for the global negativity. So perhaps we can make ourselves responsible for the global positivity.
Yeah, sure.
Is that fanciful? It's easy to throw out of the window and say, oh no, what a stupid idea. Goodness gracious me, you know, really. And there's a great danger in us falling into the trap of what difference can I make?
Mm.
And I just say
Just
one
one.
thing: you can make
Yeah.
you a huge difference just by your presence, just by, as you put it, a shift in energy, just looking at it differently.
Yes. Because, yeah, right now, I think that across the world, definitely, but especially in South Africa, this is desperately needed. A shift in energy, a shift in intention, and consciousness. Because if we understand the little parts of our contribution and how much that can be an impact in the community, for instance, I think it will make a difference.
I believe so.
Okay, might I go on with my list,
power,
though?
the power of the human being is enormous. We are extremely powerful. And it says, if one goes back into the Christian Bible, we are given dominion over everything that walks, crawls, flies, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Well, how much power do you want? More than that.
Mm.
Let's go back to your list. I think we've killed that subject dead at the moment.
Thank you.
But
Thank you for your insights.
the tortoise's neck is severely out at this point in time, so please don't cut it off.
No, we'll keep it in, and as I say,
I'm an old tortoise. So.
It needs to be said. And what can you lose, right?
Let's go back to your list.
Okay. So yes. So I told you earlier, with finding the silver lining in dark clouds. I've learned to use the blackouts as time for research, meditation, writing, and contemplating issues and so on. And it's actually served me very well.
There we go.
Yeah, we go. There's a 2-hour slot in the morning and a 2-hour slot in the afternoon. And although we are under pressure with getting work done, those 4 hours separately are actually now valuable to me, right?
Yeah.
So what I have done recently is I've journaled a whole lot of things, because the advice I got was from you was to start journaling and to writing down the ideas and messages and all those things. And I have done so. And just last night, I made a list of things that I was working through. So, and these are things that I challenge and think about, because it's not that I don't really understand it. It's that I don't always agree with the information that is out there, because it could be understood better, right? And these are the things I challenge, like forgiveness, like trust and hope. And you and I have spoken about this many times. Happiness, love, time, the self, the darkness, our intentions. That was a quite good one, because I also, a very wise mentor of mine many years, had me sit down, and he said, now you sit there, close your eyes and intend as hard as you can. And you do it. And I sat there, and he says, now what happened? And it ties back to your discussion earlier directly, because for as long as we sit here and intend and have good intentions and have hope and go, I'm happy, nothing happened, right? So it's exactly as you said. If we don't do anything, nothing's going to happen. The other things I would like to discuss at some stage is conflict and intuition and free will, I've got the blame game over here. That's a big one, as you said earlier. You know, we so often blame ESCOM and the government and everyone else for the problems we're having. But what comes out of the blame? Absolutely nothing. What does it contribute? Absolutely nothing. So I'm not saying that we are powerful enough to take on the powers that be, but maybe we can focus on the things we can do when we have the power to.
Exactly.
Right?
Obviously, because of the so, I don't have terribly much respect for the systems that we have in place generally, not only in South Africa, but generally the systems, the political system, etc., etc. But that's another ball of wax. There are obviously limits as to what we can do, and but that doesn't mean that there's nothing we can do. There might be limits. Oh no, I can't do that. No, I can't. I think one of the most dramatic things, and it was a South African thing, it's a very little thing. I don't know if they still do it now, but at one stage there was traffic chaos. So one of the big companies had their people trained in traffic control. And all of a sudden, there were these people at intersections directing the traffic. And the benefit for the company, of course, is that they all had on appropriate T-shirts, etc., etc. I forget the name of the company, but I thought that was very, very clever. It was giving a huge social service at rush hour because it just eased the traffic flow. And you had these people that were not traffic officers, but trained in traffic controllers, not that doesn't require that much intelligence, and they were directing the traffic. Wow.
Oh, it's still ongoing. And if I may tell you, right now what's happening is as much as you do at all the major intersections, there are also always the beggars and people who collect or beg or sell little trinkets or whatever. And those people standing at the intersections, they have now started directing the traffic. So that's been happening for the last at least 3-4 months. And we know exactly, especially in Pretoria East now, I've seen it a few times where they are making such a huge difference. And these are normal poor people next to the road used to beg, and now they direct traffic. And they did it not because anyone asked them to. They just got up and did it. So I think if they can, we can do something, right?
You can do something at a more esoteric level, more like, yeah.
Of course, yeah.
At any rate,
yeah. Getting on with it.
Horse.
Yes, we did. The further getting on with it, the bureaucracy. We spoke. We can chat about it at some stage. I would like to, and authority. Then, speaking about opinions, judgments, and our view of other people. The one thing I came across was we are so directed and occupied by the lives of other people these days, and the media, everything around us encourages that. You just have to know what's going on in someone else's life, in someone else's business, whatever. Everyone wants to know about everyone. And that's always been a thorn in my side, because it directly points to judging, because you look at someone else's life and assess it and go, okay, that they have this, 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 this. I don't have this, this, this. So you start comparing your life to, and in this process, the entire population is just pushing themselves down even further and making it absolutely worse. If we start focusing on only ourselves and not comparing ourselves to anyone else, not judging anything and just say, okay, well, that is what it is. Does it affect me? Is it going to make a difference in 5 years or 10 years? And if not, well, tough. Then I have work to do, or I have people to see. I have things to do. Let me do my thing, and not pay any attention to that. But it seems so seemingly impossible to do that with being inundated with, especially in the media, with that is what everyone does, so you should do that too. How do you suppose we can change that? Get people to focus on themselves and on their lives and their loved ones.
You're asking me to climb Mount Everest without benefit of oxygen. and I'm 85, so I not only need oxygen, I need a new pair of legs. I couldn't agree with you more, of course, but the chances of making any sensible change in the way the media operates are slight indeed. I don't know quite what to do. But is there value in the media? Of course there's value in the media. But I really do not have to know within the next 5 minutes of what is happening in Bangladesh. There might be a good thing or a bad thing, but I really don't have to know it, because it has no direct bearing on my life here in where I'm sitting. None. But if there's, particularly if it's bad news, the media will pounce on it like a cat on a rat and worry that, and we will hear nothing about the awful thing that's happening in, I'm just using Bangladesh as an example, because it's a long way from me. But what can I do about it? Nothing. Instead of focusing on what's happening in my neighborhood, which maybe I can do something about. Again, you know, my tortoise neck is well out, you know, and the media will jump on me and say, yes, you have a right to know. I do? What right? And to what purpose?
What's the benefit?
I don't read the newspaper anymore. I was an avid newspaper reader. I don't read it. It's a load of other people's miseries. It's not contributing any, in my opinion, any real value to the community, none whatsoever. And quite frankly, the radio news is rapidly falling into the same slot. I mean, some poor cabinet minister's caught with his hand in the till or doing something that he shouldn't be doing, and we hear nothing but this for 3 weeks. Really? Slap him over the wrist, do what is necessary, what the system allows, and then let's get on with something a little more intelligent.
Exactly that, right?
But it doesn't sell newspapers. It doesn't sell Times.
Sensation,
people,
right?
It's sensation, and people lap it up. It's very sad. Can we change this? In theory, yes. In practice, I'm really not sure. In theory, we can change it because it's there and we created it, therefore we can change it.
Yeah.
But from a purely practical point of view, I wouldn't know how. And I'm not even sure that it can be done.
Well, I suppose if we just...
We're going back into the business of rights. You see, I have a right to know. Yes.
But does it serve you?
Well, does it serve anybody?
Yeah.
Exactly. Does it serve anybody? Does it serve the community? What's the point?
It just fuels negativity and jealousy and envy and
all
these.
that, all those stuff, all that stuff.
And if we can create the awareness at least to especially the public and the listeners, say, go look at what they are watching, and does it serve a purpose, or is it just to numb your brain because you're tired? Rather than numb your brain with having a swim or taking a walk, than watching what other people do and what they own, and what to remind you of what you don't have. There's no point, right?
Well, I suppose somebody makes money out of it, and that's the ultimate point. But now we're moving into vast social malaise,
Yes.
social sicknesses. And we can talk about them, but yeah, I sometimes remind myself that I'm nothing more than a goat bleating in the wilderness. It has about as much effect. But I enjoy bleating.
So. Yeah, well, as long as you enjoy it, and there are people listening to you, there are people noticing.
I hope so.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. So at least I do. So yeah, unfortunately our time's run out. We've got about 2 minutes left. Do you have any good news, any positive news? How's your garden looking? How's the weather?
The first 3 daffodils appeared in my garden about 10 days ago. And that's wonderful.
That's
because when the daffodils come out, it's a harbinger of spring. So if the daffodils are out, guaranteed the weather is going to change, it's going to get warmer, and soon there will be clouds of daffodils decorating the English countryside.
Oh, wow.
And at this time of the year, in spring and going into summer, England becomes a garden. Despite its lack of biodiversity, which is frightening, terrifying, the lack of biodiversity, how the English countryside, pretty as it is, and I sit here in my study looking out over green fields and a wood that is dying because it's got disease. It's got the ash are infected by some sort of ash trees, wonderful tree, are infected by some sort of fungus and they're dying.
Oh, so, but.
And that's symptomatic of what's happening in the entire world.
But there's a cycle. There's, everything is a cycle.
Yes, everything is a cycle.
We're just part of that right now.
So if today we have succeeded in prodding a few consciences, instead of sitting back and saying, well, what can you do, is to actually get off their bums and say, well, maybe there is something like that. If we can start that energy, that in itself will be a major achievement. And I thank you for the opportunity that you give me.
And thank you. Thank you for your guidance and your wisdom and for being there for us. We'll do this again next time.
Thank you so much, Mate.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
And you. Take
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.